Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Yasodanandana Brada Janaranjana Yasodanandana Brada Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivanadari Sodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yasodanandana Braja Janaranjana Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Yamuna Tirha Vanacharya Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunda Bihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Prabhupada Asadhara Sadushi Shiman His Divine Grace Sri Bhaktivedanta Smaraj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Gaur Premanande Haribol Glorious to some devotee all glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga Om Agyanatvanandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chaksurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavams Cha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sarvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Visakans Vitams Cha Hey Krishna Karna Sindho Dinabando Jagapate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchina Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Prashubhanu Sudha Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakapacharubhyascha kripa sindhubhyevacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Pranityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivastadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 20. Bali Maharaj surrenders the universe, text number 3. Sachaham vitalobena pratyachakshe katam dvijam pratishutya didam iti paradi kitavo yata Sachaham vitalobena pratyachakshe katam dvijam pratishutya didam iti paradi kitavo yata. Ladies. Such a person as I am. Cha, also. Aham, I am. Vitalobena, for being allured by greed for money. Pratyachakshe, I shall cheat or say no when I've already said yes. Katam, how? Dvijam, especially to a brahmana. Pratishutya, after already having promised. Didami, that I shall give. Iti, thus. Paradi, I who am famous as the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad. Kitava, an ordinary cheater. Yata, just like. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Śrīla Prabhupada. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlada. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a brahmana? Please repeat. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlada. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I've already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a brahmana? Purport. Bali Maharaj had already been blessed by his grandfather Prahlada Maharaj. Therefore he was a pure devotee, although born in a family of demons. There are two kinds of highly elevated devotees called sadhana siddha and kripa siddha. Sadhana siddha refers to one who has become a devotee by regular execution of the regular principles mentioned in the Shastras, as ordered by and directed by the spiritual master. If one regularly executes such devotional service, he will certainly attain perfection in due course of time. But there are other devotees who may have not undergone all the required details of devotional service, but who, by the special mercy of Guru and Krishna, the spiritual master and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, have immediately attained the perfection of pure devotional service. Examples of such devotees are the Yagyapatis, Maharaj Bali and Shukadeva Goswami. The Yagapatnis were the wives of ordinary brahmanas engaged in fruitive activities. Although the brahmanas were very learned and advanced in Vedic knowledge, they could not achieve the mercy of Krishna Balaram, whereas their wives achieved complete perfection in devotional service despite their being women. Similarly, Bali Maharaj received the mercy of Prahlada Maharaj, and by Prahlada Maharaj's mercy, he also received the mercy of Lord Vishnu. Appeared before him as a brahmachari beggar. Thus Bali Maharaj became a kripa siddha because of the special mercy of both Guru and Krishna. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu confirms this favor. Guru Krishna prasade pai bhakti lata bij. Chaitanya Charitamrita 19:151. Bali Maharaj, by the grace of Prahlad Maharaj, got the seed of devotional service, and when that seed developed, he achieved the ultimate fruit of that service, namely love of Godhead, prema pamartha mahan. Immediately upon the appearance of Lord Vamanadev, Bali Maharaj regularly maintained devotion for the Lord, and because he was immediately upon the appearance of Lord Vamanadev, Bali Maharaj regularly maintained devotion for the Lord. Because he was purified, the Lord appeared before him. Because of unalloyed devout love for the Lord, he then immediately decided, I shall give this little dwarf brahmana whatever he likes from me. This is a sign of love. This Bali Maharaj is understood to be one who received the highest perfection of devotional service by special mercy. Sachaham vidalobena pratyachakshe katam dvijam pratishrutya didamiti paradi kitavo yata. I am the grandson of Maharaj Prahlad. How can I withdraw my promise because of greed for money when I have already said that I shall give this land? How can I behave like an ordinary cheater, especially toward a brahmana? Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutaya Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswatundeve Gauravani Pacharane Nirvishesha Srinivadi Paskyadyade Siddharane. In this verse it mentions two types of siddhas, sadhana siddha and kripa siddha. Here it puts also certain personalities, which would be surprising that if they considered kripa siddhas, such as Shukadeva Goswami, who happens to be a parrot in Krishna Lila. And from his very birth, he was a liberated soul in the womb of his mother. Liberated in the sense that he was already situated in Brahman realization. He knew that he wasn't his body, that he's a spiritual being. Although he wouldn't come out of the womb of his mother because he was afraid he'd fall into Maya. And although his father told him he wouldn't fall into Maya, and his father was also a liberated soul, but because he was a householder, Shukadeva Goswami didn't trust him. He thought householders could say anything for their benefit. So it's not that he was critical of his father, but he thought my father, for the sake of his mother, because after all I'd been in the womb of my mother for 16 years, his mother must have been a little inconvenienced. So my father may say anything just to get me out of here, just for the sake of my mother. So he didn't trust him. So Vyasadeva had to go all the way to Dwarka and bring Krishna there. And when Krishna told him, it's all right, you can leave, you won't fall into Maya, then he took Krishna at his word, because Krishna is neutral. He couldn't care less if Shukadeva Goswami stayed in the womb of his mother for another 16 years or not. So then he left. But when he left, he was supposedly, at least in this pastime, he was just a liberated soul who had to get the mercy of Vyasadeva, who sent his disciples into the forest to find him and recite some verses from the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, which attracted Shukadeva Goswami. So he came back and heard the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. Also, Shukadeva Goswami expanded himself as a householder so that his father wasn't so disturbed. I guess every father wants his children to be a householder like he is. Any case, at least in this pastime, Shukadeva Goswami didn't chant 16 rounds. He wouldn't be eligible to get initiated. He did follow the 4 principles, though. He didn't chant Gayatri, as far as I know. But he had association with Vyasadeva. And therefore he became a fully self-realized Krishna Bhakta by Hare Kripa. So as far as I can understand, sadhana siddha means we don't have association with the Mahabhagavat. But we hear from those who are associated in disciple succession with the Mahabhagavat, and we follow their instructions, and by following their instructions, gradually we come to perfection. According to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur and other literature, by association of the Mahabhagavat, if we have the right consciousness, so kripa doesn't necessarily mean that everyone gets kripa. It means we have to be in a receptive. Then in that association, even sadhu sangha sarva shastra hoy, lavamatra sadhu sangha sarva siddhi hoy. Then in that one moment association, we can get all perfection. All perfection means that we get such an experience of Krishna consciousness, of ultimately prema, that our path of perfection is, if we don't achieve it immediately, like a moga or someone like that, then we get it in a very short period of time without having to follow the process of sadhana bhakti. But to get the association of such a Mahabhagavat like Vidura, as Arjuna said, when Vidura returned after, I think it was 32 years of pilgrimage or something like that. Do you know how many years of pilgrimage he was on? that Bhavan Vidas Bhagavatas Tirtha Bhutak Swayam Vibho Tirtha Koravanti Tirthani Swantak Stena Gata Britaha. That saints like yourself are verily places of pilgrimage. Bhavan Vida Bhagavatas. Tirtha means a place of pilgrimage. Bhuta, you're like. Tirtha Bhuta. Tirthani Swantak Stena Gata Vrita. Because wherever you go, you turn that place into a place of pilgrimage because you carry the Supreme Personality of Godhead within your heart. In other words, can be factually experienced that we're a pure devotee, like Srila Prabhupada and Mahabhagavat, where he goes, then he brings the spiritual world with him. His meditation is not just, it's full. It's not only meditation on Krishna, but it's with full prema. As we know, there's a series of progressions to reach perfection. As Krishna, as I mentioned before, as Prabhupada said in his purport, that one should first of all follow religious principles, so that one can act piously. And by acting piously, one can conquer sinful reactions. What does it mean to conquer sinful reactions? Sinful reactions come to you and you have a sword and you fight out with sin, and then you conquer it. You kill it. No. What does it mean to conquer sinful reactions? How do we do it according to Bhagavad Gita? What does it mean to conquer sinful reactions? Does anyone know? Has anyone ever conquered a sinful reaction here? No. Oh. Anyone out there? Hello? Yes. Half the answer. How many have chanted, just like it says in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 10, text number 9, if you just say once that Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead, at once you're liberated, and your path to Godhead is complete. You go back to Godhead. So everyone can say, repeat after me, Lord Krishna, you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. No need of any more classes. We're all liberated. Anyone feel themselves completely liberated? So what's the missing element there? We actually have to mean it. We have to not only mean it, we have to realize it. It's one thing to say, Krishna, you're the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the next moment we're trying to control something, and we're trying to enjoy something, and we're imagining we're the saviors. We put Krishna aside. Krishna, for that one moment, we said you were the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I don't believe it, and no one else who said it believed it. But anyhow, we repeated it, and hopefully one day we'll realize it. So the same thing, we can chant Hare Krishna, and perhaps, as it says in Nectar of Devotion, if you clap your hands before the deities, you notice no one claps their hands because even if you heard it, so much sound in the temple room, no one would hear you clapping. But if you clap before the deities, during kirtan especially, then all your sin reactions fly from your body, just like when you go to a tree, you clap before a tree and all the birds fly out of the tree. So how many experience that every kirtan? We clap our hands and we're completely in bliss in the spiritual world. So, or if you take a little Charanamrita, according to Srila Bhaktivedanta Thakur, he took Charanamrita and it turned into the river Ganges. Has anyone ever noticed the river Ganges flowing in the temple room after taking Charanamrita? Shuddha Bhaka Charitarena bhajan anusunya kulya, favorable devotional service. But, as it says in the end of the chapter, it may seem that these are exaggerations, but they're not exaggerations for everyone. Some people actually experience this. They go to Vrindavan and they feel Krishna's presence everywhere. I went to Vrindavan the first time in 1974, and I felt the presence of the parasites in my body everywhere. I definitely, even when I went to Radhakund for the first time, I definitely bowed down when I couldn't get up. So it's not that everyone goes to Vrindavan and they think, where's Krishna? Where's our feeling of Krishna? But some people feel like that. Depends on what their level of advancement is, how they progressed. If we're just on the level of trying to get up sinful activities and act religiously, we may not feel Krishna everywhere immediately. And even if we're trying to act piously and follow the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti, it's not that we become immediately purified. And even if we're trying to conquer sinful reactions, which, as the Tool Krishna Guru said, begins with performing devotional service. Nothing is achieved without performing devotional service. But what does Krishna say? What is the formula for controlling our minds and focusing it on Krishna? What are the two elements Krishna says? Arjuna complains, Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayora eva tadriskuram. What's that? But the system of yoga that you've, Chanchalam himana, that's the next word. The system of yoga that you've told me, it's very difficult because the mind is uncontrollable. And then he says, but what's the first word of that verse? Something like yo, yum, yum, bhakti, no. Yo, does anyone have a Bhagavad Gita? Yum. But what's the first word? No. What's it? Chapter 6, verse number 30, it should be 31 or 32. What is it? Yo yum. Wait. What's the first word? Yo yum? Yogas, yo yum yogas, bhakta. No. Some, yeah. Bhakta. Sudana, tasyaham tasami chanchalam himana Krishna. Oh, that's right. The system of yoga that you just told me, yo yum, yoga swaya prokta, samsama madhusudana, etasyaham napashami chanchala sitam stira. Yeah. The system of yoga that you've told me is very difficult. Yo yum yoga swaya prokta, samsayam madhusudana, samshayam madhusudana. Etasyaham napashami chanchalam manakstita. Because the mind is very unsteady. It's not stita. It's not fixed. Chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayor eva sadishkram. Because the mind is flickering and unsteady. Chanchalam himana pramati, and very strong. Tasyaham napashami. And to subdue it, it seems to be more difficult than controlling the wind. So what does Krishna say is the formula for success? Śrīmad Bhāgavatam vacha asamshayam havaho manodur nigraham shalam abhyasena takontiya vairagena griyate. He doesn't tell Arjuna, you're in Maya, get with it, surrender. No, he says, my dear Arjuna, chanchalam himana Krishna pramati balavadridam it is very difficult to curb the restless mind. He agrees with him. But it is possible by suitable practice and by detachment. So, chanting Hare Krishna, chanting Gaur Nitai is a suitable practice, but we have to have detachment too. In other words, we won't. What is that detachment? How do we get the detachment? Does anyone know how? We're chanting Hare Krishna every day. All of us are chanting. How do we get detachment while we're chanting? We can't. We have to be in Maya forever. Doesn't matter how much we chant. How do we do it? What's that?
Listening.
Yes. But why will we listen?
Listening to the name to Krishna, to the sound of it.
Well, what happens if so many things are going through our mind at the same time?
You just have to keep bringing it back. Every single mantra, you have to listen to every single.
Yeah, that's good. You can do that. Krishna also advises that in Bhagavad Gita as one of the processes. Excuse me? That would help too. Well, actually, in Bhagavad Gita, in the 6th chapter, Krishna says, Shanai Shamar Paramed Buddhya Drita Grihitaya Atma Samstamana Kritva Na Kinchit Api Chintaya. Shanai Shanar Uparamed. So one should, with the help of the intelligence, the mind should be fixed, sustained by full determination. And thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. So why does our intelligence get carried away? What carries away our intelligence? What is the process by which our intelligence is carried away? Is there a process, or just sometimes it's there and sometimes it's here? It goes every, how do we? Shanai Shanar Uparamet, to fix Buddhya with the intelligence fixed with determination, sustained with conviction. So how do we sustain our intelligence with conviction? What do we have to do? We have to listen. And what you said, Yato yatonis chalati manakchanchalamasthiram tatastatam niyam nyaitat atmanyeva shamniyat. Wherever the mind wanders to, due to its flickering, unsteady nature, one must withdraw it and bring it back under the control of the self. So why would we do that? We need intelligence that we should do it. We have to hear from persons, from Krishna and from his representatives, that when our mind wanders away from Krishna, we should use our intelligence to bring it back. And then if we accept that instruction, we have to practice it. But on the other hand, we may have a taste for material things. So Krishna advised, Apuryamana machala pratishtam samudram apa pravishanti yadvat tadvat kamyam pravishanti sarve sashanti matnoti nakama kami. Person is not disturbed by the incessant flow of desires that enter like rivers into the ocean, which is always being filled, but is always still, and alone achieve peace, and not the man who strives to satisfy such desires. So the example is the ocean. So we have to become an ocean of Krishna consciousness. And then when these insignificant desires flow through our mind, we won't be disturbed by them. So what is our problem? Is that desires flow through our mind, and we become disturbed by them. And how do we know we're disturbed by them? What's the indication that we're disturbed by these desires? What's that? I can't hear you. We do what? Not necessarily. Yes, eventually we might do that. Yeah, we start taking them seriously. We become attached to them. So that means we're disturbed by becoming attached to these ideas. Otherwise, they'd come and they just flow, and we wouldn't take them very seriously. At the state of nishta, at least, of liberation, desires may be there, but they're considered insignificant compared to Krishna consciousness. So that's a process. It's gradually, generally speaking, unless by some inconceivable mercy, and probably due to our past misdeeds, like Prahlad Maharaj, past good deeds, past this devotional service, like Vilamangal Thakur, he was seeing his girlfriend. I guess, I don't know if she was a professional prostitute or not, but at least girls that didn't have husbands at that time were associating with men were considered to be prostitutes. So he was associating with her, and he was very enthusiastic in that association. That on the night that, the day his father had his ceremonies of cremation, he was there for the last rites of his father, but he kept on hurrying the priest because he wanted to see his girlfriend, Chintamani. So the priest had to hurry up with the ceremony. And then there was a big deluge of rain, and Vilamangal Thakur, still, in spite of the practically impossibility of his reaching the house of Chintamani because of the flood that was happening, still he went through the flood. He came to the gate. She had a big walls around her house. He came to the walls, and the gate was closed. He couldn't go through the gate, so he tried to climb over the wall to get to Chintamani. But there was he didn't have a rope, but he thought it was a rope, so he threw the rope over the wall, climbed up the rope, and then found out the rope wasn't a rope, it was a snake. Got into the house, and Chintamani was amazed. How is it that you've come in this horrible weather, dangerous, coming here, just to enjoy with myself, an insignificant woman? She said that if you had the same desire for Krishna as you have to enjoy with me, you would be a pure devotee by now. So then awakened within his mind was his previous activities, his previous devotional service. Because previously it said he was on the stage of bhava, but due to some offense against some devotees, he came down to this platform of sense gratification temporarily. But Chintamani reminded him of his previous devotional service, and therefore he left her company and went to Vrindavan. And had some other incidents on the road that fixed him in devotional service. In any case, it wasn't by accident that he suddenly turned into a pure devotee, because he was practically a pure devotee in his last lifetime, but it required some inspiration. So, is he a sadhana siddha, or is he a kripa siddha? He would be considered probably a sadhana siddha, because he got instruction, and that instruction was sufficient to awaken his activities of devotional service. He didn't even require kripa, he just required some good instruction. From someone who wasn't on the platform of bhava, who wasn't overflowing with love that he experienced, he just was already on that platform. So when he began his devotional service again, seriously, it awakened the last platform he was on, which just so happens to be bhava. Of course, he had to go through some other experiences. He was still apparently somewhat attached due to his past offenses, and therefore he eventually became blind by his own desire, and therefore he could concentrate completely again on meditation on Krishna. But we ourselves, sometimes we hear that, oh, Prabhupada, if only Prabhupada was here, as if Prabhupada's not here. But for us, Prabhupada's not here. Prabhupada may be right here, sitting there, completely aware, just like, are we worshiping dolls here on the altar? Is that what we're doing? Now, it may look to us like they're dolls, very beautiful dolls that sometimes smile at us, whatever. Very interesting dolls. Mystical dolls. But is that who's here? Is Radha and Krishna actually here? Is Gaur Nitai actually here? They may be here, but the question is where we are. Where is our consciousness? So generally speaking, we're not embarrassed at all. The fact that what our present state of consciousness is, we think we're doing all right. Everything's fine. I'm such a nice devotee. I'm so advanced. At least I come to the temple, unlike all those other rascals. And although for me they're like beautiful dolls, but still I'm quite advanced because I'm here. Everyone should appreciate it. Not that I'm bewildered and under the illusory energy in a combination of these modes of material nature, but I'm doing okay. No, Prabhupada's here, everyone's, but we're not, our consciousness is not focused here completely. And therefore, even if Prabhupada walked into the room, we might just take him as the same way we're taking him as his presence here on the Vyasa-san. We may not take it as very significant. And others, due to some reason or whatever, being a little bit more receptive, I remember in the airport seeing Prabhupada come in, and people started to cry. Just regular people started to cry. That's because they felt the influence of Prabhupada because of the spiritual world, which he was carrying. And others, I remember one time Prabhupada walked into the Boston Temple, 1969, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada's disappearance day. And the temple in Boston was on Beacon Street. It was a 2-story building, the first one in ISKCON, I think. They had 2 stories at that time. And Prabhupada walked up the steps to come to the place where we were doing bhajan, and the second floor was the altar with the deities on it. And the whole world turned into, the whole room turned into Vaikuntha. Even whatever anxiety I was in, I remember I was thinking about it, I couldn't remember. I was in a different world. And Prabhupada sat down and the Vyasa-san looked at me, and I could see that he knew exactly who I was. I didn't know who he was, but I could see Prabhupada knew who I was. Spiritual identity. So, did I ever experience that again? Not really, from anyone else. And was I the only one who experienced it? No, others in the room also experienced the same thing. Because Prabhupada was actually carrying the spiritual world wherever he was going. Did I always experience like that? Sometimes. First time when I saw Prabhupada in the airport, in the beginning of 1969, first time, then when I saw Prabhupada, he looked like he was floating. Was I in the same Vaikuntha? No, but it wasn't an ordinary experience. And when Prabhupada entered into the place where we did our first engagement, when Prabhupada in Buffalo, at the University of Buffalo, when Prabhupada walked in, I was in Brahman. I was actually in Brahman. The whole world turned into Brahman. So, I was seeing Prabhupada floating, I was in Brahman, then I was in what appeared, as close to Vaikuntha. So it wasn't always the same. Does that mean Prabhupada changed? No, it doesn't mean Prabhupada changed. Of course, he was always changing, becoming more loving and intense in Krishna consciousness. No, somehow or another, the circumstances, my eligibility, whatever, my consciousness changed, and Prabhupada appeared differently. Just like it says in the 10th canto of the Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, in the 89th chapter, that the sun is always the same, but sometimes it's just like every day here it changes. It's not the sun is changing, it's just the circumstances are changing. The sun always has the same temperature, practically speaking, but we're experiencing it differently, that's all, because of our situation. So there's a combination of eligibility and mercy, etc. Now, even if we're not eligible to get complete kripa or to experience something higher than we're present state of consciousness, or as they asked Prabhupada, what was our eligibility? So Prabhupada said, my kripa. But that's different degrees we get kripa. It's not that kripa Kripa means that we experience something different from the presence of a devotee, a higher state. We experience something spiritual to different degrees. So that's kripa. On the other hand, that our perfection will be generally through sadhana. The kripa will manifest itself that we start following sadhana. Pramande Bhagavan Kon Bhagavan Jeev, Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhakti Laktivij. After wandering up and down through all the universes, that if one is fortunate, he gets the association of Guru and Krishna, and they give him the Bhakti Lata Bij. So what is the Bhakti Lata Bij? It's the instructions by which we can become perfect. Now, according to our previous activities and according to our association with the pure devotees, whoever they may be, then either a pure devotee can give us prema, experience of prema immediately, if we're eligible, like Shukadeva Goswami, but most of us weren't liberated at the time of birth. Or if someone is on the Bhava platform, they can give ecstasy. And someone who's on the platform of sadhana, they can give faith. So by following faith even, then by following sadhana, then we can actually come to the platform of bhava. That's the platform of, we follow sadhana to come to bhava. So if we get faith, that will help us progress. But maybe not as quickly as if we got actually ecstasy. The higher the taste, the higher the experience, the more likely we're able to withdraw our minds from things that will be seen as insignificant compared to the higher taste. So it's a process. But if we neglect and we think that sadhana is not very important, then kripa has no meaning to us either. Kripa will not be very important. Of course, it may carry on to our next lifetime, that higher experience, that higher taste. We may search for it. But kripa, in general speaking, means that we're going to become inspired to perform the activities of sadhana bhakti and pure devotional service, and that will bring us up to the platform. We become more and more eligible, if we do come to associate with higher devotees, to receive their mercy, their instructions, and follow their example, and at the same time more inspired to follow the process of sadhana bhakti as it should be followed. That is, it's not that we just want to bring our bodies here to the temple. My body's here, my life is perfect. No. We also have to bring our intelligence and our mind here, and our faith here. And ultimately, it's quite simple. We put up our hands and we chant Hare Krishna in such a way that we actually feel we're just receptive. We're willing to be receptive. We're willing to experience something that we have not experienced a moment ago, to get Krishna's mercy. And how does that appear? Well, first of all, according to Bhagavad Gita, we give up the anxiety of trying to lord it over the material nature. We just, all right, for 5 minutes I'll give up my anxiety of trying to lord it over the material nature. It's all, Krishna, I'll leave it up to you to take care of whatever has to be taken care of, at least for the next 5 minutes. And then we follow the instructions. For instance, the last instruction is, Ma suchaha, don't worry. So we say, all right, for 5 minutes I won't worry. Don't worry. 5 minutes later you can worry as much as you want. But at least for 5 minutes I'll just chant and actually, feel good, like I'm floating and, someone's chanting and it sounds, I'm listening and I'm appreciating how nice they're chanting to Krishna. And then I chant to Krishna. And what will be the result if I actually chant in such a mood? What should I expect? What should I hope for will happen? People will take a photo of me and put it on Facebook. Here's an example of a pure soul. And then I'll get so many people writing to me, can I surrender to you, So, is that what we should expect? Who's watching me? I'm so blissful. Who's watching me? No, what should we hope for or expect? What is our aim? What are we trying to? Yes. What's that? I can't hear you. I think he's noticing us all the time. We're hoping that we notice Krishna. We're hoping that Krishna appears within our remembrance, that we become conscious of Krishna. That's what we're here for, right? That's what we're supposed to be here for. I mean, the prasadam is good, and the deities are beautiful, but we are trying to become conscious of Krishna. And as much as we become conscious of Krishna, then Krishna is full of love, he's full of ecstasy, he's full of awareness. Then we should feel some more love, some more ecstasy, some more awareness of what's going on. Otherwise, what are we here for? Is it when I'm dancing, I'm not feeling anything, so I just move faster. I turn my body. Hare Krishna. Finally, I turned Krishna out of my body. No, we have the proper mood, the proper consciousness, the proper expectation. Samutena. Not that it's impossible to become a pure devotee. I'm a conditioned soul. I'm here forever in the material world. I don't want to leave. No, we should expect that if we get into the proper consciousness, we chant with the proper consciousness, we move our body so it's not a distraction of what we're trying to do, then the result is we should remember Krishna. And that's perfect, Krishna consciousness. Krishna will appear within our memory spontaneously. Therefore, as it says here, sadhana siddha, kripa siddha, we have to take whatever kripa we get and apply it to our sadhana and try to apply it in our everyday devotional service, and then see we're supposed to become three things: bhakti pareshanu vyaktira, anyatra tika eka kala, prapanamanasya tashnatos tushti pushti shudapaya nugasam. Three things. We're supposed to begin to see everyone and everything as they're related to Krishna. That there's nothing outside of Krishna. Nothing's happening outside of Krishna. That we don't have to poke our nose into everything that's going on in order to correct it. And at the same time, we should become detached from the things that are drawing our minds away from Krishna. And at the same time, we should feel that there's growing appreciation and love for everyone and everything in relation to Krishna. We should feel some happiness, some pleasure, some ecstasy, some love. Otherwise, how is this bhakti yoga? If we're not feeling love, what kind of bhakti do we have? If love is far, far away, and the only thing we get out of the closest we feel to love is when as it says in Spanish, barriga llena, corazón contento. You know what that means? Anyone know? Barriga llena, corazón contento. Means when the stomach's full, the barriga, then the heart is satisfied. So that's not the only love we're trying to get. We should be satisfied also by chanting Hare Krishna, worshiping the deities, hearing Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, Bhagavad Gita, serving the devotees and trying to make the atmosphere spiritual, especially by spreading Krishna consciousness. That's what makes the atmosphere spiritual. So I'll stop there. Thank you. Any questions? Comments? Yes.
Thank you for the class. How do we overcome the fear of advancement?
Fear of advancement.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, everyone's afraid of getting advanced because then you may leave all the things we're attached to behind. And we don't want to leave them behind because we're attached to them. How do we come? Well, regular sadhana bhakti. And then try to do it nicely according to the instructions that we read about in Śrīmad Bhāgavatam, the examples of the great devotees, the instructions we get from the elevated devotees. So we try to follow them. And then we get tricked because Krishna reveals himself. And then the result is that the very things we were attached to, we're not attached to anymore. So rather than figuring out how to become free from our material attachments, that will just make us more attached to them. It's like you have this beautiful, cute little dog, and they tell you you got to give up your dog. You look at the dog, I got to give you up. I got to give you up. So the more you think about giving up this cute little dog, the more you become attached. I'm never going to give you up. So that's the stage of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. There's two parts of it. It's called Vishaya Sangara and Vyuta Vikalpa. Attachment to excessive speculation and attachment to sense gratification. The more we become attached to speculating on things, the more we become attached to them. So just forget about that. I mean, we should try to we should realize where our enemy is, what our attachments are. But rather than trying to give them up, just give them up, that's impossible. We have to simply concentrate on our sadhana every day, regular sadhana. And when these attachments appear in our mind, we'll say, all right, I'll deal with you later. I got to do my sadhana right now. I'm not going to give you up, but I'll deal with you later. I got to trick the mind. Yes?
Thank you very much.
On the topic of Mahabhagavat, bestowing kripa, it was awesome hearing your descriptions of the experiences that you had in Prabhupada's association, the atmosphere, the Vaikuntha atmosphere, the Brahman atmosphere, the normal people crying, just in a moment's association. Labhamatra Sadhu Sangha. So actually we're very fortunate in Melbourne Mahaprabhu Mandir to have your association.
I think it's Prabhupada's association.
Yeah, that you've come here and shared those experiences that none of us have, we're hearing from you. We're greatly fortunate that you're kind and you come here and you share the experiences. In the 1950s, Prabhupada personally describes the experiences that he had. Jhansi was kind of like aborted, and he was struggling in Delhi. He was struggling to get. He had writings that couldn't get published. He was struggling, dealing with his godbrothers. He was struggling to get supporters, and it seems that people weren't changing around him the way they were in the experiences that you described. So how do we understand those years when Prabhupada seemed to face so many reversals, the same person?
Yeah, the problem of living in India at that time. India, you go, at least my experience of dealing with the Indians at that time is that you go to an Indian and say, here's the book about Krishna. Oh, Krishna, I know all about Krishna. I know more than you knew about Krishna. I was born in a devotee family. I know everything about Krishna. I can tell you about Krishna. So, sure, thank you very much. I think I'll find someone who doesn't know about Krishna. So that attitude was there. Who is this old man from someplace else in India? We know all about Krishna. I mean, if you think you know everything, then you can't find out anything. Śrīmati Radharani thinks maybe yesterday I saw Krishna briefly, but I really don't know about Krishna very much. I'm hoping today I actually get some association with him. So that attitude is necessary, otherwise one can't make any advancement. Yes.
Another question. There's a couple of letters from 1970 that Srila Prabhupada wrote to His Holiness Jayapataka Swami Maharaj describing that the spiritual master remains in the material worlds until all of his disciples are liberated. Are we assuming that all of Prabhupada's disciples will go back to Godhead at the end of their lives, or that Prabhupada is coming back to deliver them? And if that's the case, then what are our plans to receive him?
He's already here. That's why he's here in the books. He's here in his deity form. He's giving us association of those who are following his instructions. He's already here trying to deliver us. That's what I mean. What's the difference? He's here. So he's also, it's not like...
I think in the letter, the implication was that that the spiritual master would take birth again.
Well, if he's already here, why does he have to take... Maybe he'll take birth again. I don't know. I don't know what the plans of Krishna and his pure devotees are, so I can't really say. But he's already here. And whether he has to come back, whether he said it because he wanted his disciples to become more serious, which is one thing he could say. If they had any affection for him, any appreciation, any gratitude towards him, they wouldn't force him to come back to the material world again. So that was one thing. And whether he comes back again, I'm not in charge of it. That's between Krishna and him, and I have no idea. Anything else? Thank you very much. Grantaraj Śrīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premananda.
Krishna